Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion.
Without Caitlin Clark on the floor, the WNBA is in a terrible financial slump and is powerless to save their entire empire from collapsing. Demonstrating once more how this league has learnt nothing at all about safeguarding the one player who brought them from obscurity to prominence. This is the tale of how a league keeps hurting itself while their star player is hurt on the sidelines, and how their obstinate refusal to accept reality is costing them millions of dollars every day.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
Facts are as scarce in this day of staged drama and social media controversy as sold-out WNBA games without Caitlin Clark. The stark reality of the league's reliance on a single player was made public when Clark was sidelined on May 24th due to a quad injury. She is currently out till who knows when due to a groin injury, thus we are witnessing a recurrence of what occurred.
Injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so be it.
Due to compensation, quotes injury jumped to her groin. However, you must exercise caution since, should you attempt to hasten her recovery from this injury as well, you run the risk of causing a very serious harm. Caitlin must do everything in their power to prevent that, which is what the Indian sickness is. Therefore, whether Caitlin is out for 3 weeks or for the duration of All-Star, then whatever the case may be.
Clark went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55%. Yikes. Across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th. National TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, the Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850,000.
WNBA games involving the Indiana Fever had a startling 55% drop in nationally televised viewership. A 53% decline in audience size, from an average of 1.8181 million when Clark performed to just 847,000 without her. This is when the story becomes completely absurd, though. And when we say ridiculous, we mean inevitably disastrous for a league that doesn't want to grow from its blunders.
News is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her.
Caitlin Clark was occupied with her specialty, which is packing venues to capability, shattering television ratings records, and bringing in previously unheard of sums of money. The WNBA was too busy doing what they do best to safeguard their most precious resource. Because it seems reasonable to allow opponents to attack a player with impunity while lecturing everyone about basketball moves when that player is solely in charge of 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity.
Really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the Fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone.
What's especially intriguing, and I mean intensely enraged by intriguing, is how this particular situation has previously transpired. However, the league doesn't seem to be able to grow from its past. The WNBA has previously seen a decline in revenue and viewership following the injury of its top player. It's similar to witnessing someone touch a hot stove, get burned, and then reach for it again right away while saying they were unaware of what would happen.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
If you find this entertaining, please subscribe. The financial catastrophe has happened quickly and without mercy. The cost of Fever game tickets has decreased by 71%, with some going from $860 to $250. The average cost of tickets for all of Clark's missed games dropped from $1,370 to $80, a startling drop that says a lot about who really generates interest in this league. Road games that were rescheduled to bigger venues, especially to meet the demand for Clark tickets, are now having trouble filling arenas that would have been overflowing with people if she had been there. One of the most anticipated games of the season is the rematch between the Chicago Sky and the Fever. Season saw a sharp decline in ticket prices from $210 to $95. This contest had previously attracted 2.25 million people, making it one of the most watched WNBA games ever. However, without Clark, it turns into just another game that casual viewers aren't interested in seeing.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA.
One of the most outspoken opponents of the WNBA's treatment of its star player is veteran sports journalist Christine Brennan, whose next book, On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, promises to reveal the league's shortcomings. Following yet another instance in which opponents singled out Clark, Brennan stated, "The WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment. This is what people see when they watch in greater numbers than ever before." Brennan's criticism gets right to the point. According to league figures, Clark alone attracts over half of the league's television viewers. However, they keep on to let her get harsh fouls and cheap shots that serve no purpose other than to scare their biggest draw. It's similar to witnessing a restaurant owner let patrons taunt the chef, whose food is the sole draw for patrons.
I don't even know where to begin, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that. Has she been hurt and playing through this?
The trend is now both frustrating and predictable. Opponents who appear more concerned in making remarks than playing basketball frequently foul Clark. 5 of the league's 30 egregious fouls against Clark occurred in 2024, with the Chicago Sky accounting for 80% of those flagrant fouls. When she reacts to the physical play, she receives criticism for being overly combative. She receives criticism for being soft when she doesn't reply. The league has created a scenario where there is no winner and is unwilling to fix it. In the meantime, the WNBA ecosystem as a whole, not just the Fever, is still being devastated financially. This year, the league was already expected to lose $50 million. Despite the Clark-driven spike in popularity, those losses are increasing at a startling rate while she is not playing, as television ratings plummet, item sales stall, and attendance numbers drop back to what they were before Clark.
I admire about Caitlin, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players. You don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I done seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
The fact that this whole catastrophe was entirely avoidable is its most terrible feature. Clark was a modest rookie when she first entered the league, often complimenting her colleagues and diverting attention away from herself. For a 22-year-old, she displayed great maturity and elegance in handling criticism. The league had the opportunity to welcome her, shield her, and capitalize on her fame to improve the game as a whole. Rather, they let petty politics and jealousy ruin what ought to have been a women's basketball celebration. The consequences of a Clark's injuries go well beyond ticket sales and television ratings. Millions of dollars were invested by corporate sponsors based on the Clark now. Driven Growth is wondering if their investments were smart. This circumstance highlights a serious issue with the WNBA's self-presentation. The league appears to be torn between embracing every bit of stage drama that could spark social media interaction and wanting to be regarded seriously as a professional basketball business. You can't have both of them. Professional leagues uphold the integrity of competition while safeguarding their stars. Drama clubs at high schools stir up controversy in the hopes that someone would take notice.
Clean up. I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on. She getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves. Because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets hurt?
It is embarrassing and glaring to compare to other professional sports leagues. What if the NBA permitted players to use dirty moves to target LeBron James for months while maintaining that the sport was only a competitive one? The league would ban that right away and suspend players more quickly than you could say flagrant foul. However, it appears that the WNBA is perfectly happy to let this damaging trend to continue. It seems that they think any attention is good attention. Because of the poisonous atmosphere caused by the league's inability to defend Clark, WNBA supporters are refusing to attend other games because they no longer believe that the sport is still competitive. When your own supporters, people claiming that they won't watch games without your biggest celebrity because they don't think they'll be fairly officiated, this indicates that you have a major credibility issue that extends well beyond ratings and income.
Every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game. But we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate money?
The WNBA has had numerous chances to change their direction, but they have consistently failed, which only serves to exacerbate the situation. Every event involving Clark ought to have served as a warning to the league to set forth explicit guidelines for player safety and fair play. Rather, the same stale answers regarding basketball plays and allowing the players to play have been given in reaction to every instance. Ironically, Clark's injury, exactly what the league ought to have been trying to avoid, has given the best indication of her worth to the company. The viewership decline of 55% is not negligible. However, despite this overwhelming data, there isn't much proof that the situation has been made worse by the WNBA's repeated failure to shift course despite having multiple opportunities to do so. All of Clark's incidents should have been a warning to the league to establish clear rules for player safety and fair play. Instead, in response to each case, the same cliched responses about basketball plays and letting the players play have been provided. The best indication of Clark's value to the organization has come from her injury, which is ironically exactly what the league should have been attempting to prevent. The 55% drop in viewing is not insignificant. But even with this wealth of information, there is little evidence that the WNBA.
What I saw walking to the game is what the media don't see. Thousands of kids.
Wearing what, Gil?
Kids. Huh?
What were they
Caitlin
wearing?
Clark jerseys.
Were they Fever jerseys? Were they Iowa jerseys? Were they
wherever she played. It was whatever she played.
And that's what was more impressive to me.
It did that. It wasn't just it was Caitlin in the back.
For her style of play.
But her style of play. But it wasn't what we were. It wasn't adults. It was parents bringing their kids and their friends. Them seats was kids filled.
Right.
And that's what they don't understand. They don't grasp that part of it.
There isn't a sophisticated way to resolve this issue, but the WNBA must make some difficult choices about the type of league they wish to be. They must begin acting like a professional basketball organization if they hope to be recognized as such. They must set precise rules regarding player safety and implement them regularly. The real basketball game must no longer be overshadowed by artificial controversies. Above all, they must acknowledge that their biggest performers, particularly those who really pack arenas and boost television ratings, should be shielded from the kind of harassment and targeting that does nothing except rather than creating drama on social media. The continuous decline in revenue, attendance, and viewership in Clark's absence acts as a sobering reminder of the WNBA's pre-her arrival state and what it will revert to if they don't alter their strategy. Without Clark, the league's average viewership this season was only 555,000, far down than the 670,000 average from the previous year. These figures signify a return to the pre-Clark age of deserted stadia and pointless matches that only die-hard fans cared to attend.